Most people think Brad Pitt's biggest regret was Angelina Jolie or Jennifer Aniston. But to find the one mistake he's been carrying for nearly 3 decades, we have to go back to a single decision in 1997 that changed the trajectory of his life forever. A decision that left a golden couple in ruins and Brad questioning everything. In the mid-1990s, Hollywood was a completely different beast, and Brad Pitt was its undisputed king. He possessed an almost supernatural charm, a mix of rugged Midwestern humility and jaw-dropping movie star looks that had not been seen since the days of James Dean. After his breakout role as a cowboy hitchhiker in Thelma and Louise, he followed it up with a string of critically acclaimed performances in movies like A River Runs Through It, Legends of the Fall, and the dark, gritty masterpiece Seven. It was on the set of Seven in 1994 that he met Gwyneth Paltrow. She was a rising starlet, elegant and cultured, born into Hollywood royalty. He was the rugged, handsome heartthrob who had worked his way up from driving limos and wearing chicken suits. Together, they became the ultimate 90s power couple, widely referred to as the Golden Couple. They wore matching haircuts, attended high-profile galas, and captured the imagination of a generation. When Brad proposed in late 1996, he publicly declared it one of the greatest moments of his life. The world was at their feet, and a fairy tale wedding seemed inevitable. But as the calendar turned to 1997, the dream began to crack, setting off a chain reaction of choices that would haunt them both for the next 29 years. To understand what went wrong, we have to look closely at the massive cultural and psychological divide between these two superstars. Gwyneth was raised in the wealthy elite of Manhattan, attending the prestigious Spence School and growing up in a world of intellectual sophistication. Brad, by contrast, came from a deeply religious, working-class background in Springfield, Missouri. While they were deeply in love, their daily lives were filled with subtle friction. Years later, details emerged of how Gwyneth would gently mock Brad's lack of sophistication, once famously recalling that she had to teach him the difference between beluga and ossetra caviar at high-end restaurants. Beneath the surface, there was a growing insecurity. Brad was 9 years older than Gwyneth and felt the biological and social pressure to settle down, marry, and start a family. Gwyneth, however, was only 22 when they met. She was suddenly being thrust into the absolute pinnacle of Hollywood fame, winning major roles in films like Emma. The massive weight of Brad's global fame began to crush her. She felt unprepared, immature, and deeply insecure about whether she could live up to the impossible standards expected of Brad Pitt's future wife. Rumors began to circulate on movie sets. There were whispers of distance, of phone calls left unanswered, and of a growing emotional chasm. By June of 1997, the engagement was abruptly called off. The golden couple was no more, leaving Gwyneth completely devastated. But what if the real tragedy of 1997 wasn't just a broken engagement? What if the true mistake was a hidden, desperate decision made on a chaotic movie set that very same year? A choice that legally trapped Brad, threatened to bankrupt his rising career, and forced him into a multi-million-dollar silence. While the public wept for the shattered romance, Brad was fighting a silent battle behind the scenes that almost destroyed his entire future in Hollywood. This hidden nightmare centered around the production of the 1997 action thriller The Devil's Own, where Brad starred alongside acting legend Harrison Ford. The film was supposed to be a massive cinematic and dramatic triumph, a gripping story of a New York cop and an IRA soldier. Instead, it became a legendary disaster. The original script was completely thrown out, and the actors were forced to shoot scenes with pages that were being written on the fly, sometimes just hours before the cameras rolled. Brad was deeply unhappy. He felt the production was incredibly irresponsible, and in a moment of raw frustration, he did the unthinkable for a Hollywood leading man. He publicly trashed his own movie in a raw interview with Newsweek, calling the film a disaster and the process a joke. Instantly, the studio was in an uproar. The threat of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit loomed over Brad's head. He tried to walk away, to quit the project entirely and escape the nightmare, but he was told in no uncertain terms that doing so would result in a breach of contract lawsuit so massive it would completely wipe out his personal wealth and blackball him from major studios forever. He was trapped. He was forced to return to the set, swallow his pride, and promote a film he despised, all while his personal life with Gwyneth was crumbling in the public eye. To make matters worse, he immediately had to fly to Argentina to shoot 7 years in Tibet, a grueling, physically punishing shoot that isolated him from everyone he knew. The combined weight of these two experiences, the loss of the woman he loved and the soul-crushing realization that his career was owned by corporate entities, triggered a massive psychological shift in Brad Pitt. He realized that the golden boy image was a lie. He had achieved everything he ever wanted, yet he was utterly powerless and profoundly lonely. This realization led to what Brad later described as a period of deep hiding. Throughout the late 1990s, at the absolute height of his physical beauty and marketability, Brad was internally falling apart. He retreated into a fog of heavy marijuana use, spending days sitting on his couch, staring at the ceiling and trying to escape the suffocating pressure of his own celebrity. The mistake of 1997 wasn't just that he let Gwyneth go, or that he made a bad movie. It was that he allowed the machinery of Hollywood to dictate his happiness and identity. He had spent years chasing a specific version of success, only to find that it came with golden handcuffs. This period of stagnation and self-medication lasted for years, warping his early adult life and delaying his emotional maturity. When Gwyneth later reflected on their breakup, she admitted that she was the one who wasn't ready, calling Brad the one who was too good for her. But for Brad, the regret was different. It was the regret of a man who realized too late that he had traded his authentic self for a polished illusion. He had allowed his 20s to slip away in a haze of avoidance, a direct consequence of the trauma and heartbreak of 1997. It wasn't until he began to actively take control of his career as a producer, founding Plan B Entertainment, that he finally started to reclaim his agency and step out of the shadow of his own myth. To truly understand the legacy of this 1997 turning point, we can look at how Brad navigated his subsequent high-profile relationships. When he married Jennifer Aniston in 2000, the public once again projected their desires onto a new golden couple. But the cracks from his past remained unhealed. He was still searching for a sense of purpose that fame could not provide. A search that eventually led him into the chaotic, high-stakes whirlwind of his relationship with Angelina Jolie. The pattern of seeking escape and trying to outrun his own internal struggles repeated itself on a much grander, more destructive scale. The lessons Brad failed to fully integrate in 1997, about boundaries, about confronting his issues rather than self-medicating, and about the true cost of compromising his values for external approval, came back to haunt him decades later in his highly publicized and painful divorce from Jolie. It proves that when we do not face our deepest regrets, they simply wait for us, growing heavier with every passing year until they demand to be paid. Ultimately, the 29-year mistake Brad Pitt can't undo is not a single failed romance or a botched movie contract. It is the years he lost trying to escape the reality of his own life, a spiral that began in the ruins of 1997. It is a sobering reminder that even the most successful, universally admired people on earth cannot outrun their own choices. Success can buy many things, but it can never buy back time. If you want to understand how this pattern of regret and escape shaped the most controversial chapter of Brad's life, you need to see what happened when the cameras stopped rolling on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a story of passion, betrayal, and a marriage that was doomed before it even began. Click on the video on your screen right now to dive into the dark truth behind Hollywood's most notorious affair.